Hi, I'm Joseph, and welcome to part 4 of chapter 1 of Digimon Seekers Eiji Wolf of the Ninth Avenue. So, before we begin with the actual analysis, let's begin with the summary. So, for this part, it begins with the professor discussing, or rather, it begins with the narrator describing the professor as a collector. He's an individual who collects Digimon for his own personal collection, for his own personal research. There's also individuals who keep Digimon as digital pets. I can't help but feel like that might be a reference. It's being a little bit meta to the real world individuals with the pets. And then lastly, code crackers. They utilize Digimon as an AI tool. And what's pretty cool is that it's further explained by the professor that when it comes to code crackers, they do operate in the gray area, but there's still specific types of code crackers. Those who are working in the gray area that it's still white, so they're doing good activity within the moral gray area of code cracking, and those who are doing illicit activity that their gray color is closer aligned to black, or in other words, they're doing illegal activities through cyber terrorism and utilizing digital tools. And beyond that, it's also revealed that Digimon have been causing, or rather not Digimon, but individuals who use Digimon as tools have been causing network failures, information theft, or access via hacking, and lastly, cyber terrorism. And it's revealed that's exactly what happened in part 3 when Eiji sees the video of that crashing airplane. That was due to cyber terrorism, a code cracker choosing to use a Digimon to cause that tragedy, unfortunately. Then it's further explained that it's reinformed quite heavily that again the digital world and Digimon are not known by the public. It's only known by the world leaders and those who are researching into this subject area. And even then, the general public, they're using Digimon as tools. They're not aware that they're quote unquote alive. And the professor actually explains that aliens are not coming from space, but rather aliens are coming from the digital space. There is another life form living within the digital world, and it gets revealed that in part 2, when Eiji saw the landscape, excuse me, when he first came into the furrow for Abaddon Electronics Digital Lab, or DDL, he sees there's a landscape of beautiful, luscious jungles, some mountain landscaping as well, and he accurately deduces that's the digital world. And the professor says, yes, indeed, that is the digital world. It was not promotional material. It's real. It's what we composited from the data that we've been researching. And also, I actually really do like this detail. When it gets revealed that Digimon are alive, Eiji actually thinks about that, and he thinks about his Tyrannomon. I really do like that aspect just because I am noticing a lot of people were upset with the way that Eiji was treating his Tyrannomon in the first part. After one of them got injured, he didn't seem to really pay much care or mind to the injured Tyrannomon. Excuse me, pardon me for clearing my throat. But really quickly, I just want to highlight those individuals, because I do partake in the Digimon community, and I do notice a lot of people talking about their V pets, and sometimes people make the choice to starve or neglect their digital partners, right, in order for them to pass away, so then they could raise a new egg. I would argue, e.g., so when individuals who use V-Pets do that, they're quote-unquote playing with their toy, right? But when Eiji is doing this, not really taking care of his Tyrannomon, he's not utilizing it as a toy. And in fact, in part 1, he even states this is not a game. This is his livelihood. He's using these Tyrannomon as tools. So I'm just kind of defending Eiji right here. And I'm really loving how when he realizes that they're alive, I like to think that he's thinking about, oh no, the way that I've been treating them, maybe I should treat them a little bit differently. But there's not enough textual evidence to suggest that. But also, there's not enough textual evidence to suggest that Eiji is just a heartless individual. But anywho, going back to the summary, so the reason why Digimon Land was not open was because even if the public was not aware about the digital world and Digimon being real, if it ever became I hate repeating myself, but if it ever became public information about the digital world and Digimon, people would panic. Why were these cute little digital creatures that they've been using as digital pets and as quote-unquote toys? Well, it turns out they're actually alive and they're the cause of a lot of cyber terrorism. And so that's why Digital Land was scrapped, just because Professor Ruzenji and those involved were just concerned that people would not understand the real capacity that Digimon and the digital world can offer. And so continuing forward. So I'm just looking at skipping ahead. So then, after the professor starts transferring the Modaki Betamon into his personal collection, he reveals that there's an error in the memory, and he actually detaches the D dock that Eiji gives him, and he just tosses it. Eiji quickly runs and catches it, and he's a little bit shocked at the way the professor acted, and tells him people who work for big agencies, big corporations, they can afford replacements, but I actually built this myself. And it gets revealed that the professor's a little bit eccentric. We already knew that, and after this, the professor apologizes to Eiji, and he asks for his hand, his wrist, and he sets on his wrist the Digimon linker strap. Or I guess for us it's known as the Digimon linker strap, but for the world it's just called a linker strap. And I'm going to read exactly how it's described. Give me a quick second. Thank you for your patience, everyone. It's a medical device class sensor. It records pulse, blood pressure, respiration, body temperature, and so on. Excuse me. It comes with a 24-hour medical support system via our life support. So I'm gonna be healthy, Eiji responds enthusiastically. I just really like that little portion just because we'll get to that when we get over to the analysis. But I like how the linker is described. And then when Eiji looks at the linker, he notices Logomon, and all it's stated. So finally, we're introduced to Logomon, but all that's stated is just Logomon. A mysterious flame seemed to flicker from the clock screen. Logomon, child, dark beast, virus type. The tiny colored screen showed a Digimon he had never seen before, heaping Eiji. Eiji's eyes twinkle. Dog? And that's where there's a page break. And after this, the story transitions over back to the forum, or the entrance of Abaddon Electronics Digital Lab. And Hatsune's there at the front, and when she sees that Eiji has his Digimon linker strap, she gets excited and she scurries over to look at his linker strap, and she's impressed. Obviously, Eiji must be someone to Professor Ruzhenji if he's willing to allow Eiji to utilize his trade secret. Apparently, it's revealed that it is top secret, this linker strap. And before Eiji takes off, Professor Ruzhenji tells him that there's no catches, no strings to him having this linker. It's been given to him, and Eiji's really excited because he thinks about how for code crackers, any devices from DDL or from the Electronics Digital Lab, they're really easy to not manipulate, to mod. They're really easy to mod to make code cracking easier. And apparently, he's never seen a digital dock that's wrist mounted, a smartwatch digital dock. So that's pretty exciting. And what's pretty cool is that when the professor asks Eiji, he has to do this one mission. It's not revealed what it is. Eiji does not hesitate. He states, yes, I'll go ahead and do it. And he actually thinks to himself, even though there are strings attached to this linker strap, he's not going to let go of it. It's now his. And one last detail, the professor explains that the linker strap is actually connected specifically to Eiji. It's now connecting to his DNA. So that's pretty cool. So going after the page break, Hatsune's excited. She realizes that Eiji must be some kind of individual to Professor Ruzhenji. And she asks him, she sets up his profile, and she asks him, what should he set up for his occupation? And Eiji thinks a little, I'm a freelancer. I have no set occupation. Basically, I have no established title. I'm Eiji Nagasumi, a code cracker. Hatsune's reaction was the most subtle of the day. So and that's how part 4 ends. So although we got a pseudo introduction to Logomon, I would argue that we didn't get a full introduction, right? He has not yet, we don't know if Digimon can talk yet in this iteration of Digimon, but we haven't had any interaction between Logomon specifically with Eiji. So I'm really looking forward to the next part, because I do believe that in part 5, we're finally going to get development of that relationship between Eiji and Logomon. So now that we've discussed the summary, let's go ahead and just move on to the analysis. So right off the bat, I'm really loving the characterization that Seekers is doing for Eiji's character. Eiji is resourceful. How do we know this? Well, the fact that he built his own digital dock. So this is also great character development, because it tells us that obviously he's not a rich individual. He can't just go out and buy the tools that he needs. He constructs his own tools. And personally, I really do like that, because that tells us that despite Eiji, he may not have any specific goals or personal goals for himself. He may not be attending higher education, but he's not a goalless individual. He's not a determinedless individual. When he puts his mind to something, it seems like he's able to accomplish things. And not only that, in addition to him being determined, there's also the fact that when the professor asks Eiji, do you want to do this mission in association with the linker strap, there's no hesitation from Eiji whatsoever. Right away, he says yes right away. And this is also linked to the fact that he's been working with the professor Again, if the professor is willing to work with him, this tells us what that Ichi's been developing, or pardon me, Ichi's been coming to him with results, with things that the professor can actually utilize. And also, don't forget, I believe it was in parts um, 2 or 3 where Eiji he doesn't back down from another request when he's asked a question. He's always being willing to be upfront, and even when he has to guess or deduce, he doesn't know the answer. That's still an indicator that he's resourceful and determined. He's critically thinking, and even though he's guessing, he's thinking about what he does know and trying to give an answer about that. Right? I'm talking about the part 3, the Betamon color versus the Madooko Betamon. Also like the, again, further consideration for Eiji's character when he gets. Actually, let me just go to that portion specifically. Give me a quick second. Pardon me, everyone. Actually, I got distracted by another line. But let me go to the portion that I was looking for. Eiji feels like jumping up and down and doing 3.5 cartwheels. AE's products are easy to modify into digital monitors and are highly regarded among code crackers. And this is a genuine EE product. It's a trade secret because it's related to Digimon. I'm also going to skip a little bit to the bottom. Oh, excuse me, I must have passed it. Give me a quick second, everyone. Pardon me, I do thank you for your, when was the last time Eiji felt like this? When his parents bought him a new video game console when he was a kid? When he got his first smartphone? Pardon me, that was my cat. She knocked over my my empty water bottle. When he got his first smartphone? No, this is many times greater than either. He has a feeling that his entire world will expand just by wearing it. So again, I just really like that characterization because it shows how much excitement that Eiji is feeling. Despite this, though, he's aware that he needs to control his composure, so he's not giddy, jumping up and down physically. He's just feeling this in the inside. I really do like that because it shows that Eiji has some form of professionalism. He is mature in some way. And moving on to the professor, actually, give me a quick something. Give me a quick something. I meant to say second. One last aspect that I really liked about Eiji's characterization is that he's very empathetic. And the textual evidence for this is that when the professor tosses the Digimon dock, it's also sometimes called the digital dock. I would argue that Eiji would have been justified in being upset towards the professor, right? He could have raised his voice, snapped at him. He does. I would argue he doesn't snap at him, but he does let the professor know, Professor, what are you doing? And he just gives an explanation why Eiji was worried about that, right? But Eiji doesn't become mad or flustered. I do believe that's textual evidence that Eiji is empathetic. He's aware. He even states within the narration that he knew that the professor was eccentric, hence why he behaves the way that he does. That's really awesome. That's really cool. So far we're discovering that Eiji is determined. He's resourceful. He knows how to communicate with other people, as indicated. So I'm going to jump ahead, as indicated by the end of this part. Even though the first interaction between Hatsune and Eiji wasn't entirely positive, it was just a little bit awkward, and it was just awkward because it was the first time meeting. We see that when they're on the same track, so they know that they're both going to be working together because she's at the front, right? While he's going to be working behind the scenes, but still on the same team, they're able to communicate more freely, more naturally. Especially because now they find that they have a common ground, the fact that they were both interested in what it is that Professor Ruzhenji is researching, and also discussing him as an individual. That's really awesome. I'm really looking forward to what else we're going to discover about Eiji's character, especially when he starts interacting with Logomon. So moving on to the professor, so he's definitely a bit of your stereotypical eccentric academic type. But I do like that he does know how to speak with people. He is sociable. He just does things without communicating first. The action of throwing the D-Dock. But despite this, so I'm not going to lie, as much as I am liking Professor Ruzhenji, I am a little bit cautious just because he seems to know what he's doing. He seems to be working in a field where he has no short supply of esteemed colleagues and peers who more than likely have no issue assisting him. Yet for whatever reason, the professor is choosing to work with code crackers. That makes me a little bit nervous, but I still do trust, and I still do have more trusting feelings towards the professor rather than untrusting. It's just the beginning of the story where I'm just being a little bit apprehensive, but I'm not gonna lie, I do have some cautious feelings, apprehensive feelings towards the professor. But with that being said, again, I am really enjoying his character and his characterization. The fact even though I know I stated this already, but the fact that he knows what he's doing, he seems to have a plan, and I'm excited to see what that overall plan is, what his overall goals are for Digimon and the digital world, and what he wants to do in connection to the real world. Um, so that's basically my analytical portion I'm about to discuss from this chapter. I already discussed this, but I really did appreciate the description, the linker. The reason why I liked it so much is because, especially Eiji's reaction, I'm going to be healthy. I'm not going to lie. One of the reasons why I got interested in the vital bracelet was because of the fitness aspect of it. And again, I can't help but feel just like at the beginning of the part when they're discussing the how some people use Digimon as digital pets. The portion where the Lincoln strap is being described, that's a little bit meta. It's focusing on those individuals who are VPET fans and those individuals who are Vital Bracelet or Vital Hero fans. For those of you who are in the West, or I think the Vital Hero only came out in America actually. Um, and then I've already discussed Eiji's excitement, but when he gets the linker shot for the first time, I just really love how his description. He wants to do cartwheels. He wants to jump up and down. Um, just that childlike excitement, I really do appreciate. Just because as an older individual, so I am no longer in my 20s. Um, I don't feel like I'm in a rush of development for getting back into Digimon just because of the fact that it's helping me to maintain a healthy lifestyle. I'm utilizing it to look at themes and ideas to compare to what I could do at work. I do a lot of contrasting, comparing to different materials to make sure that my points get across. And yeah, so the fact that Eiji has this childlike excitement within him, yet he knows that externally he can't express it the way that he wants to. I just really appreciate that. I'm really am enjoying Ichi as a protagonist for Digimon Seekers, and I'm looking forward to what else we're going to discover. So right now it is Wednesday. I'm not sure if the parts will be coming out into Sunday. So in other words, I'm not sure the last part of chapter 1 will release on Saturday or will release on Sunday. But I was not expecting to do a video for every part, but so far I'm really enjoying it. I'm really loving the little aspects of world building and characterization that's going on. I would argue it began with world building first, and now we're going with characterization. And it seems like we're going to be meshing the both. And I'm excited to see where the story takes us from here. So if you're reading Digimon Seekers, I hope you let me know what you're thinking about it. Let me know your theories about Logomon. One aspect that I'm really curious about is the way that Logomon is described. So really quickly, let me just go to that. A child dark beast, virus type. I was already aware that he was a virus type Logomon. So that should be kind of a little bit interesting, right? A virus type. Usually, when we think of virus type Digimon, they're not the quote unquote nicest of Digimon. I believe the first protagonist who had a virus type Digimon was Takato from Digimon Tamers, Guilmon. So we'll see that that's going to play a factor into the story. But the part that's really interesting is just that use of that wording, dark beast. But who knows? Maybe it's just a descriptor, right? Maybe it's not meant to imply anything about Logomon specifically. But we'll see. So thank you again so much. Have a digital day, or rather have a prodigious day, and take care. I'll see you guys again for tomorrow for part 6. Are we already on part 6? Oh, part 5, excuse me. I'm not the best when it comes to numbers. Again, have a digital day, a prodigious day, and take care.